I want to talk about patterns over destiny, patterns versus destiny, why your life may feel predictable. Let me say this. Most people use the word destiny to explain their lives. But here's what I want you to notice. When you really listen to how people use the word destiny, what they often mean is this. This keeps happening to me. And I don't understand why. It keeps happening to me every time, but I don't know why it keeps happening. And this really matters because that is not destiny. That is repetition. Here is a distinction most people never make. A pattern is different. A pattern is a repeated sequence of choices, reactions, and behaviors that produces similar results over time. Patterns are not mysterious. Patterns are not magical. They are mechanical. And anything mechanical can be studied. Anything mechanical can be understood. Anything mechanical can be changed. So this is how life patterns are actually formed. You see, every human life runs on a system, not a moral system, not a spiritual system, but a functional system. This system is built from 4 major components: belief, identity, habits, and emotional reactions. The 4 of them. Together, these 4 form what I call the life operating system. That is how everyone's life runs, on a system, life operating system with these 4 components. Just like the operating system in your phone or your computer, it runs mostly in the background. You don't think about it all the time, but it controls everything. It works automatically. It responds predictably. It produces consistent results. And here is the rule you need to understand. If the input into the system do not change, the output cannot change. That is why life can feel scripted, even without being scripted. And some people call it destiny. Not because your future was written somewhere, but because the structure running your life has remained the same. So why do people experience the same life? Destiny. Now, this is where people usually get it mixed up. This is why someone can change job, change cities, change partners, and still end up in the same emotional place. They keep entering the same kind of relationship. They keep entering the same kind of situations or making the same mistakes. They keep hitting the same ceilings. And I want you to be very clear on this. This is not because they are cursed, or it's not because they're unlucky, or neither is it because they are being punished. No. They are repeating a system. Different people, different locations, different circumstances, but the same internal structure. And when the structure stays the same, the outcome will feel inevitable. Not because they were meant to happen, but because the design never changed. What many people call destiny simply is a pattern they have not really taken note of. The pattern they have not yet noticed. And here is something very important. The moment you see a pattern, the moment you notice the pattern clearly, the feeling of faith begins to disappear. Now, let's talk about identity. This is the core code here. Now, if you go deeper into the system, you're going to get to the center. At the center of the system is identity. Identity answers 2 critical questions. It answers the question of, who am I? The question of, what am I capable of? What is possible for someone like me? And this is where most people misunderstand identity. Identity is not what you say about yourself. Identity is not what you introduce yourself to be. Identity is not your confession. Identity is what you act from, is where you perform from, where you live from. You do not behave according to what you want. You behave according to what you believe you are, through a system that is running automatically in you. You behave according to the system running your life, the life operating system. And structurally, life usually flows in this pattern. It flows from identity to behavior and then to outcome. Identity is the core thing here, is a core code, like I said before. Then you see the behavior, then the behavior leads to what? Outcome, which is the result. And this is why you cannot change results without touching the identity. Trying to change outcome without changing identity is like painting a building whose foundation is collapsing. It may look beautiful in the outside briefly, but the structure remains unstable. It can fall anytime. And this is why change feels hard. And this is why most people often fail trying to change. Now, this explains something many people, struggle with. This is why people try to change and it doesn't work. They add motivation on top of the same identity. They force discipline on top of the same beliefs. And when nothing changes, they blame what? They blame who? They blame themselves. But the system is not broken. It's not like the system is broken. It is functioning very well, exactly as it is designed. It's functioning the way their life operating system was designed to operate. And when that life operating system is designed like that, of course, the system will resist any change that is not coming from the foundation. Any system you build will always resist whatever threatens its stability. It will resist it. Change feels exhausting because the approach is superficial, because the effort you're putting in is not being directed at the design or the redesigning of the life operating system, of the system. Is not targeted at the right thing. Lasting change is not about trying so hard. It is about redesigning the system step by step, piece by piece. I want to talk about the second one, which is the behavioral loop, because this is how patterns maintain themselves when they are now in a loop. The next important thing is actually this the behavioral loop. This is where most people live, in the behavioral loop. A behavioral loop works like this. A situation triggers a reaction, and the reaction produces an outcome, and the outcome then reinforces the identity. The trigger, action, produces what? Outcome then reinforces the identity. Once the loop forms, it begins to run automatically. It repeats automatically. And here is something very crucial. There is something that is called loop reinforcement. Loop reinforcement. The loop has been created, that is being reinforced. The brain prefers loops because they reduce uncertainty. Even painful patterns can feel safer than unfamiliar solutions, unfamiliar ones. This is why people often return to familiar problems instead of risking the unfamiliar solutions. The known pain feels safer than the unknown possibility. So here's why people say, I don't know what is happening. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. When people say that, what it usually means is this: the loop has never been examined. The system is running on autopilot. Now comes the awareness. If awareness ever happens, the awareness is what interrupts the loop, because the structure may be explained by the behavior, but awareness is another term that comes in to interrupt the loop. Do not break patterns by force. You break patterns by seeing them clearly. Your life feels predictable not because of destiny, but because systems produce consistent results. And the moment you stop asking, why me? And start asking, how is this structured? Your power returns. This is not belief. This is not motivation. This is design.